Well, hello again. This is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner. If you are a regular viewer or listener, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope that you hear something or see something here that you find worthwhile and that you tell your friends. I'll be joined a little bit later on by a distinguished panel of comics who will talk about some of the news of the week. You know, sometimes we're funny, sometimes it's heavy. It just kind of depends on how the conversation goes. We just talk for about an hour. Before I do that, I'm just going to do a cheap plug. I'm just throwing in a cheap plug. I sold my first novel. I wrote a crime novel during the shutdown, and it sold, and it will be released internationally on Tuesday the 23rd. So next Tuesday, it'll be released throughout the U.S. It's going to be released in the U.K. It's in Germany, it's in Japan, it's in Korea, it's like all over the place. So I'm like, wow, really? Okay. so I had a lot of fun writing it. It is going to be part of a crime series. It is called Outraged, and here's a copy of the book. I got my author copy sent to me over the weekend. There you go. It's called Outraged, and what it's about is my protagonist is a San Francisco-based investigative TV reporter, African American, and it's he and his sister his sister is an SFPD homicide detective, and they are investigating the killings of police officers who shot unarmed Black people but were not punished for it. And they're trying to find out who did it and why. So, it's got all the thriller elements and all the mystery elements, but it's got a lot of social commentary in it as well. So I hope that you will pick it up, and I hope that you will give it a read. And one of the things that I'm doing with this book, same thing I did with my first book, which was a nonfiction book based on my first play, Not a Genuine Black Man. And that is that any book club that reads the book, I will be a part of your book discussion if you want. If it works so you're somewhere within driving distance, I'll come to your house. Or if you're out of the area, then we'll do it over Zoom. So pick it up. It's available everywhere. I mean, it's going to be in Target, Walmart, as well as every bookstore around. Barnes & Noble's got it. Amazon's got it. So I hope that you will pick it up. And with that, it's time to get on with the show. This is part of the podcast that we call Headliners on the Headlines. Joining us this week, three of my favorites are back. Tom Sawyer, the former owner of Cobb's Comedy Club and voice actor extraordinaire. Other voice actor extraordinaire and a guy he came up with in stand-up, Carlos Alazraqui, joins us from Southern California. Also, are you in LA, Chris? Are you down south?
I'm in LA.
Okay, and Chris Riggins, who is the former winner of the San Francisco International Comedy Competition. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Okay, off the air, I wasn't going to start with this, but I am going to now because this is the conversation we were having off the air. We were talking about sports franchises and the fact that you're wearing your A's hat, and I live not far from where the A's play, and grew up going to A's games. And in fact, Tom, I remember when you were a season ticket holder on Wednesday afternoons, and you would take comics with you to go on Wednesday afternoons to sit in the sunshine and watch a game. And they screwed us over, and they're going to Vegas, and then the 2 years before they go to Vegas, they're going to go to Sacramento and play in a minor league stadium and all this. So since we were talking just about franchises and things in sports, I want to start with this. OJ died at the age of 76 last week. And I got in a little bit of trouble on Facebook. People like jumped all over me. And you were part of this conversation, Chris.
I knew.
I was going to bring this up because I had the temerity to all I said was somebody had sent me a montage of clips of TV shows that OJ was in before the murders, when he was OJ, Dragnet and in Medical Center and all these 70s kind of shows.
Naked Gun.
Actually, Naked Gun wasn't in that. That wasn't in the
before that. Naked Gun came out 3 months before the trial, right?
I think so. Before the third one did, I think.
Yeah.
And it's funny, just a complete aside. They say that that's a movie that, like Adam Sandler films, that 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds should be, should know every line to, but you can't watch it because every time you see OJ, it takes you out of it. And I said, that can't be true. And I watched it. It is true. Every time you see OJ, it's kind of like, but anyway, so I talked about how, weird it is, you forget how huge he was. If you're of a certain age, I mean, OJ
that
was
his poster.
OJ was. Did you have the poster?
I had his poster. Yeah.
Yeah, he was LeBron before LeBron. He was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. Everybody knew who OJ was. He was beloved by everybody, and then this thing, happens. And so people, said that I was defending the murders and all of this kind of stuff. And something came up that was real interesting. And I think, Chris, you posted it, and that is that it seems like since the very beginning, that there has been this, and again, I have to be so careful how I say this, because I am not saying that I'm condoning and supporting in any way, shape, or form the butchering of these two people. I'm not saying that at all. But there seems to be a visceral hatred of that man by white people more so than by people of color. And somebody posted, and I think I'll ask you if you think this is a good point, that if it had been, instead of pretty blonde Nicole Simpson, who had been murdered, if it had been OJ's first wife, who was black, would there have been a trial of the century, or would he have gone home on probation? Would there have been, Camp OJ with 100, different media outlets parked out in front of the Los Angeles County Courthouse? Would it have been handled completely differently? And I had never thought about that because I was working in morning television at the time, and we covered it gavel to gavel for a year. We had analysts there. We watched, every single action in the court.
Probably not. I'm going to answer no, because obviously a white woman is more devastating to the white population. But let's do a hypothetical too. If she were as publicly famous, for example, if Will Smith were to happen to murder Jada Pinkett Smith, it would be a big deal because Jada's famous and it has nothing to do with her skin color. I think Nicole was only famous because she was a white beauty. So if his first wife was famous and black,
I don't think that even has to do with it.
I really do. I think the fame part of it.
Jada Pinkett Smith got murdered by Will Smith. They would still be blaming Jada Pinkett Smith for her own murder because she is a black woman. Black women are not seen as white. Black women don't get the victimization like white women do. So even if she was famous, there wouldn't have been the trial of the century. It would have been covered, no doubt, but we wouldn't have been out there gavel to gavel. There wouldn't have been the big reaction. It wouldn't, because let's just put it like this. The reason why they could not convict him is because Marsha Clark went in there and said, black man, white woman, you got to convict. That's what she thought was going to convict him, and it didn't. And that's where we have the thing, because no, if he had murdered Marguerite, it would have been in the bottom of the newspaper.
Well, half of that equation is his fame, though, too. Trial of the century, maybe not, but a big trial because of his part of the equation.
It would have been, because he was famous. They would have covered it, but it
plus it was being plus it was being broadcast.
It was being broadcast.
But would it have been? That's a question.
No one's watching Trump right now at the trial because there's nothing to watch. But this was on TV. This was think of the last big trial that was on TV. This was a daytime television, and then there was the coffee table factor where where people are talking about it. So it's like that movie that some people don't want to see but end up seeing because everybody's talking about it. So you don't want to be out of the conversation. So it builds momentum. And also you have before that, you had the whole thing with him being on the freeway and every news station carrying the cops following him and nobody really pulling him over, just waiting for him to run out of gas or something. So, I mean, to me, it's like this thing had a series of Beverly Hills, events that set it in motion to be what it was. So, yeah, I do think you're right. Part of the factor is, black guy, white woman. But I also think the fact that he's a celebrity. Well, yeah. Big celebrity.
Here's the thing. His fame would have been involved in it no matter what. But we're talking about the degree of which the white community would have cared about it. Because I can tell you right now, yes, white people might have been like, oh, OJ's a murderer. But it wouldn't have been to this extent where they are literally celebrating his death now. It wouldn't have been to the point of what we saw. It would have been a footnote in this famous black guy's life that he killed his black wife. We move on. Black people kill black people.
Honestly, I live in Mill Valley, which is white people central. And nobody's mentioned OJ passing away. Or
nobody's mentioned because you live in a white community of white people. They don't have to mention.
But I'm just saying we don't. Nobody cares.
People is when black people express, like Brian did, this mindset of we remember that we remember a different OJ. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is with the black community, we weren't celebrating OJ because OJ. He stated he really wasn't black. He's like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. So we weren't like, yeah, we're really behind OJ. What you have to keep in mind is when that trial happened, we just had Rodney King.
Yep.
Just had Latasha Harlins, who was killed by a Korean shop owner. And then her murder was basically put on probation. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
It was not even about OJ. It could have been any black celebrity in that position. We would have been like, we got one. And it wasn't about we were celebrating their murders. It was just that finally we got to show the white community what the system does for rich people. We got to show them. This is what y'all have done to us for years, and this is finally happening. And because she was a white woman, it's the only reason the white community cares.
Two things. I brought up a hypothetical, that hypothetical this morning on Stephanie Miller. Without the Rodney King preceding the trial and that being filmed, do you think OJ would have been acquitted? And number two, what was the black community's opinion of Darden? Was he a quote unquote Uncle Tom?
I know. Let me jump in here for
those 2 points. Do you think without Rodney King and without the other murder that you mentioned, do you think that payback would have been there?
I think that to some degree, because here's what the deal is. What happened to Rodney King had been happening to African Americans in Los Angeles for decades. That's why you had the Watts riots. And what the thing that made it worse is that, and when you're a person of color and you deal with things in society that was, as far as law enforcement are concerned, the first thing, or any kind of overt racism, being in housing or wherever, the first thing you hear from people is you're exaggerating. It didn't happen. Or it didn't happen because of the color of your skin. Then with Rodney King, we saw it. There it is. It's on tape. It's right in front of your face. You can see exactly what's done, and they still let him go. So that's why everybody exploded. But in terms of the undercurrent of it, this had been going on for decades. For decades, this had been going on. It's just that this was the first time that they'd seen it. But it was jury nullification. There's no question about it. I have no doubt in my mind that
I would actually say centuries.
Yeah.
It never stopped.
We can even testify for ourselves.
Small stories, really quick.
You can literally just point like Emmett Till just murdered, and then people let them go. So for us, it wasn't even about that Rodney King. It would have been anybody. And truthfully, the Rodney King just happened to have happened before that. But we were already
the fact that it was filmed.
Yeah.
It was so widespread.
We're already kind of on skeptical. So I feel like also to your thing about would he been acquitted? If you look at the case that they presented, yes, he would have been acquitted because they did the dumbest thing they could do. The police were already on trial for everything in that moment. Police were under the microscope, and they went and found the worst.
Berman.
Fine. It's like literally you could have went and got a beat cop that worked in Brentwood that just in the morning. That would have been a better witness than going to get the cop that's been recorded saying racist things, be openly been racist, and then you couldn't even put him on the stand because he perjured himself. So you basically shot your whole case in the foot by thinking that police trust white cops more than black suspects.
Let's give Carlos a chance to jump in.
Yeah, it overwhelmed the evidence. Too great about racism that you experience that we don't see. I room with Sean Corvell, my dear friend, Uncle Sean, uncle to our kids, and he would live with me in Los Angeles. He would walk home and he'd go, I got pulled over today. I'd go, why? And he'd just give me that face like, I was going, oh, Sacramento Punchline in Roseville, out near Roseville. Remember the Citrus Heights? I'm working with Johnny Ray. Remember Johnny Ray?
Yeah.
And, bloody phone go off. So we're at the comedy condo. 3:00 in the morning, I'm sleeping, and Johnny Ray taps me on the shoulder. I look up, I go, what's going on? 2 cops are standing right behind him. He goes, tell these guys that you know me. And I went, yeah, he's a comic. And I'm like, oh, all he was doing was standing on the balcony in the middle of the night. He had this look on his face like this has happened probably 100 times. He wasn't panicking. He's like, he said that. Just tell these guys you know me. I go, yeah, he's my friend. He's a comic.
Okay, that happened to me.
We just needed to make sure. It was like an episode of Sanford and Son. It was so bad.
It's, that happened to me up until the point I was on TV every day. But once I was on TV every day, everybody knew me and it was different. But I mean, I got stopped running with my dog.
Yeah.
I literally got stopped jogging with my dog because the police had a report of a black man running.
Yeah.
And so that was suspicious. Like, I got a leash, I got a Walkman on.
It's a golden retriever, for God's sakes.
Those are all the signs of a criminal. Haven't you been watching cold case files?
And I will tell you, out of that whole thing, the thing that really upset me, that sticks out to me. First of all, that split screen that they showed, and they'll show it now. They're showing the documentary, by the way, on Netflix again, from 5 years ago called OJ Made in America. Oh, you've got it right behind you. I started watching it again last night. I saw it when it came out. It's brilliant. So you can see it. It's all the stuff because we didn't know about his life in Florida, man. About before he went to jail for the 9 years, but. I'm sorry, just completely lost my train of thought.
The reaction. I was with James Stevens III. We were doing the Stephanie Miller show.
That's right, the reaction.
I was with James Stevens III at that announcement, but go ahead.
Okay, well, so with that split screen they show when it's not guilty and the split screen, white people, black people, and the black people are cheering. I mean, cheering, and the white people are just stunned. I thought it was in bad taste for the black people to cheer. I personally thought that was in bad taste. But the thing that really pissed me off was they interviewed some of the white people, and this white woman says, "Well, you know what? We'll just take away their social programs because that's how we riot."
Yeah. That's why I did not. That's why here's the thing. It's like the way life works, there's a spectrum of things. And you have to understand that celebration wasn't for the murder of those souls. That celebration wasn't to celebrate. That was just like you ever just had a release, like you ever just had thank you. Like there was older black people crying because they had seen their family members killed by police and KKK and all this, and they couldn't even go to court and say, "Hey, that guy did it," because there was laws against black people even testifying against white folks. So I think, I felt like, because I was like 17, I think I was 16, literally, I was in high school. The whole high school stopped. They put TV in the room. So we watch, and for me to see the mean white girl that made black jokes about me, crying because this man she didn't even know got off. Oh, it made it sweeter. It was like, lifting white tears. Like it was a moment of like, just finally, you guys can see what we've been dealing with for centuries. And for them to not even still have the awareness to say, oh, this is bigger than OJ.
Yeah. I remember Darden just bowing his head and just like,
I had a chance to interview Darden when the FX show came out, because his I know his daughter. He's got a daughter in he's from the Bay Area. Right? He's from Richmond, and he had a daughter that lives in Oakland, who still does. And she had interviewed me for a school paper or something, and I reached out to her and said, would he talk to me? And she and her stepmother. Her stepmother was a woman I worked with when I worked at Channel 2, who Marcia, who ended up marrying him. And I guess they talked him into doing it. So he did an hour with me on radio, and he'd never really talked like that in depth before, because I wanted to ask him if certain things were true. And like one of the things that if anybody's going to point a finger to blame who lost that trial, they blame him for having OJ try on the gloves. Because the gloves didn't fit, because the fact that with blood they shrank and everything else. And it wasn't his idea. They made it look like it was his idea, and that he came up and walked in and, hey, I know what we'll do. And that had been decided like in advance. That was the one thing I wanted to know. The second thing I wanted to know that they showed in the docudrama was when they were trying to keep Furman's testimony out, and they wanted to keep the recordings of him saying the N-word out, and Darden gives this impassioned plea about saying the N-word and that what it means to a black man and the black people, and it's just inflammatory. And I mean, it's like a 15-minute, just this impassioned, eloquent speech. And then he walks by, he says, "Thank you, Your Honor," and walks past Johnny Cochran, and Johnny Cochran goes, "Nigger, please." Yes. I said, "Is that true? Did Cochran say that to you?" He goes, "Yep." He goes, "That's exactly what he said."
I would have said the same thing. I'd have said the same. Because here's the thing. Christopher Darden was in a terrible position because he was their black guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He
it was a
fell
trophy.
into the black friend thing where they used him they scapegoated him for all the things that didn't work. And if they had won, they would have bolstered up. See, we used our black guy and he helped win against this black guy. It was one of those things where it was like he was put in a position to lose no matter what, because if they won, black community was going to turn on him. "Hey, bro, you sold us out. Blah blah blah." Yeah. If they lost, the white people on the team could say, "See, you the one that wanted that glove. We should have just went where we went." So he was in a terrible position.
Was in a bad spot.
And he had to go up there and defend that guy. And I know that probably hurt everything in his soul.
Defending Furman, you mean?
I gotta be able to stop this dude that hates me, that would pull me over, just like they did Rodney King, not knowing that I'm a DA. So it's like I feel bad for dude, but at the end of the day, he should have also had the self-awareness to say, "You know what, y'all not about to use me. I'm gonna sit over here in the corner like F. Lee Bailey for them."
But here's the issue: when you work for the DA's office, you got to go wherever the DA assigns you to go. But you know what he's doing now? He's a criminal defense lawyer.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
He's a criminal defense lawyer. The other thing, and I'll leave it with this, that I just, because they did do a lot. There was a lot of lawyering and a lot of trickery on both sides for perceptions. And the thing that just cracked me up and has me shaking my head still to this day, because I didn't know about it at the time, is that the jury took a field trip to OJ's mansion. And the defense went over to OJ's mansion to kind of look it over first. And he had a stairwell, like a spiral staircase that went up upstairs. And all along the walls are him with all of his rich white friends on golf courses and on yachts and all this. And they went, no. And Cochran had him take them all down.
The black OJ.
Yep. Black art. Black people who were his relatives.
Oh my God. Do you remember the black tour he went on after he got off? Do you remember the thank you black people tour? Thank you.
Yeah. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle House. Hey, OJ.
He was wearing a dashiki and it looked so unnatural. I was like,
oh yeah.
But at the same time, he had no real black friends. Because if I was OJ's black friend, I'd be like, "Listen here, Orenthal, these white people don't like you. Stay about their face. Stay about their face playing. Take what little money you have still. Go to Belize. Get out of here. Go somewhere where everybody looks like you. Because here they're going to get you." And they did, because that prison sentence, that was payback. That was, we're going to get you one way or another.
One way or another. All right, let me ask you this, because he thought that life was just going to go back to the way that it was since he was acquitted, and he didn't realize he was going to be a pariah for the rest of his life. And sort of on that same theme, Bill Maher, he's got this podcast called Club Random, and he had
Bill Maher gets drunk.
Oh, either or. Yeah, he's your buddy. He's your
Bill
buddy.
Maher shows you he has a problem.
Yeah.
Well, he had Katie Couric on, and somehow they got around to the topic of Woody Allen. And he flat out came out and said, "I think that Woody Allen is absolutely innocent, that that he's been railroaded, I'll read you exactly what he said. He said that the crime he's accused of committing is impossible, and that actors who are now saying that they regret working with him are a bunch of pussies." He said that if you look at what this case is, he was cleared in 2 police investigations. They exonerated him. And on the other side, you've got a person who has a going through a divorce and has a vindictive reason for going after him. Because you mean to tell me a 57-year-old man who's in the middle of a custody fight is going to molest the subject of that custody fight in broad daylight in a house with other adults?
Yes.
You know, so, but it's not popular to say. You say that you would, there's certain things you're accused of. The stink you can never get off of you.
The same way OJ killed those two people. Remember, it's just like it's like you can't have it both ways. If OJ did it, then Woody did it. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? That's just
it's obviously weird that he ends up marrying her if nothing nefarious was going on. It's just kind of a hard leap to make. Like, I was reading a bedtime stories. We were playing like cheesy.
It's like I see my daughter's friends that I've known since they were babies. Like they're all grown now. They're grown now, and I see them, and when I look at them, I still see babies. So I adopt a child, raise that child, and as soon as it turned 18, like, you know what? You look and see over there with the way I raised you. I raised you into a sexy young lady. So yeah, I think he's whatever. Like, I guess technically he didn't do anything illegal, but moral illegality should be a thing.
It's different. He's always had
that's where he ran into. I think he ran into a lot of trouble with that because no matter what, even though she was of age by the time they started seeing each other, it's not cool. There's nothing cool about it, and there's no way of going, well, it was a different thing, but you can't do it. It's not going to happen. It looks bad. And then you've got Mia Farrow, who, to me is like, that we all have that one crazy, the one crazy person that we get involved with in our life. Sam Kinison had a great bit about Samson and the wheel with Delilah and everything. The pussy was good, but it wasn't worth my sight. Mia Farrow is her.
Oh, well,
but that's sort of an indication that women to him were prizes.
Yeah.
I can get the hot girl from Rosemary's Baby, and then I can get the baby.
Because the thing is, you say they started seeing each other when she was of age. They were seeing each other before she was of age.
Oh, I know, but I meant seeing each other
in a romantic way.
Let me ask you. In college, I think.
She was 21. Well, let me get your take on this, because this is the part of this back, because apparently I have not seen it. I'm just reading quotes that I read in the press. But it got contentious. It was a contentious back and forth between Katie Couric and Bill Maher. And what she used as evidence is she brought up that Allen versus Farrow documentary that HBO did a couple years ago that was completely slanted because
that was horrible.
All they did was talk to Mia Farrow's side, and basically anybody who had a horrible story about Woody, So what he says, what she says is that the fact that Woody liked to have his girlfriends dress up in little anklets and Mary Janes and baby doll dresses is part of evidence. So Mar goes, do you think he's the only guy who likes that? Really?
There's a whole industry.
He's the first guy who wanted his girlfriend to dress up in anklets and baby doll dresses. That's what we grew up on. That's what we find sexy. That doesn't make you a pervert.
I think Bill Maher, ever since Joe Rogan gained his popularity, I think Bill Maher's been trying to tap into that alpha man kind of energy and kind of show that he's part of that pack.
Bill Maher's always been an asshole.
He got beat up for his lunch money.
Whoa. But Bill Maher's always been an asshole. He's just been our asshole.
But now he's smoking cigars and drinking whiskey.
Well, and
men
he's also
pussies, and I'm tough.
Yeah.
And I wear tight shirts on stage, and I'm an alpha male.
Well, he also, two things. One is Bill Maher's always been an asshole. Two is after he got busted using the N-word on his show, there's a segment of his guests that kind of just abandoned him because and he got he sort of got canceled a bit. And while his show didn't get canceled, he definitely lost a good segment of his guests, the people that would show up on his show. Mm-hmm. And he really, and on top of that, he's gone not full right wing, but he's definitely turned to the sad sack group on the right that are against wokeness and stuff like that.
I would say he's followed the trajectory for most American white men. And the thing is,
sadly,
he put on a very good liberal facade. You know, he put on that liberal blackface where you thought he was on your side. And a lot of those people that left were like, we thought Bill Maher was that right. We thought Bill Maher was who Mark Maron is.
There you go.
Yeah, but again, I go back
with who Mark Maron is, and that's the problem. Bill Maher jumped behind that and was like, hey, and then we start to see, because when I stopped messing when I started how he would talk about his fetish for black women, and then these women talked about how he would call them a nigger and all this stuff in bed, and then it's just I
never heard this. You guys have heard this?
This is Bill Maher. This is
the plantation vibe.
And so he's done the thing that a lot of white American men have drawn. Like, that's why MAGA's so strong, because there's a contingent of that on that side where
incel kind of.
Oh, I voted for Obama, but I didn't get my just due. Nobody came and kissed my butt. So guess what? I'm going the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go the way I wanted to go, but I was too scared to go. It's like Brian with the thing with OJ, how people just jump down your throat without using the nuance to read what you said and see that you never said, I applaud these murders. You're just pointing out that everybody has multiple lives. Right.
Yeah. And his life beforehand was different. Let me ask you this, Tom, because we had mentioned Bill Maher, I think maybe last time you were on, because you said you guys used to be friends, because I know you used to book him all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, so has he fundamentally changed, or was the first persona bullshit? Basically,
no. See, the thing about Bill is Bill's always, like I said, Bill's always been an asshole. And here's in inches, this is what Bill Maher did. He was here, and then he went here. Oh my God! That, as far as I know, the Bill Maher I know, it's so teeny a move. It's the same thing in a weird way with Rogan, because I really like both of these guys, but with Rogan's Achilles heel has always been his masculinity. Mm-hmm. The guy is like super whatever, maybe it's his height, maybe for whatever reason, he's really insecure about his masculinity. And it really showed when he took over the Man Show, when Jimmy Kimmel and
Carella
left the Man Show. Rogan took it over for like half a season or a season. And it was awful because Rogan has no idea how to make fun of his masculinity. It's his Achilles heel. So when the masculine things started getting, when toxic masculinity and wokeness started going up, Joe pushed back because he doesn't know how to defend that part, even though he's very liberal in the social sense, very liberal guy. But
his stand-up was brilliant. His stand-up was absolutely brilliant.
Libertarian.
So it's kind of sad for both guys, because I know them both, but and Maher, I stopped watching his show like a couple of years ago, and I watch it religiously every Friday. But about 2 or 3 years ago, I stopped watching it because it just became a whining session. Yeah, it's this week's whine about poor me, in a roundabout way sometimes. In some ways, just poor me, know. I've been canceled. They're trying to cancel me. No,
why can't I be the asshole I've always been?
Yeah. Why can't I say when can I say tits and pussy and all this shit and talk down to women and celebrate the fact that I have no idea whatsoever how to have a relationship in my life?
Yeah,
I
think part of the problem is that people mistake career success for somebody being an adult. Sometimes they're two disparate things. Just because Rogan is successful and Bill Maher is successful, it doesn't mean psychologically that they're adults and know how to grow correctly. Right. And so that allows,
especially when you're infused by money and people around you who are attracted to people who have money, and they'll say whatever they think you want to hear. Yes. And all the people that will say, "Hey, dude, you really shouldn't be doing that." Well, all of a sudden they lose your number, or you're not around anymore. Because I would criticize Bill right to his face when we'd hang out. He
doesn't call you to hang out because he doesn't want to be criticized.
Dude, one time we were hanging out. His idea of us, like, let's do something special, was to go to a fucking strip place.
Yeah.
And my pal bought me a lap dance.
Yeah.
We bonded so much. And I'm sitting there and this woman's
doing $5, man. Come on.
Yeah.
This woman's doing her thing. And
I heard.
And I'm not getting into it. And she's going, "What's the matter, baby? What could I do to make you happy?" I said, "Well, what you can do is you can try to figure out how you can erase the part of my brain that knows you don't give a fuck about me."
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend who in Portland, he wanted to go to the strip club during the day. And I go, "You don't do that. You don't go to a strip club during the day unless you're desperate or a detective."
You have a warrant in your back pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about like the Rogan thing and even the Bill Maher, like I can attest with the Rogan thing, he's insulated now with a crowd of people who look up to that and think that's what, because like, and I talk about I've talked about this place but the Comedy Mothership in Austin, that is his sanctuary. That is where every, in for lack of a better term, incel comedian that I've ever come across has created as Mecca. They are going there. They want to go get on Kill Tony. And the thing about you say with Rogan, he is he's very liberal. Like I've hung out with him. He's actually very not that very like asshole type of dude, but he is very, like you said, he can't make fun of his manhood. And that's the same thing with Bill Maher. He thinks he can make fun of his manhood, but he can't. Whereas when you go listen to Mark Maron, he can literally say, "You know what? Hey, I'm a fucking pussy. I got, you know what I mean?" Like,
I trust that guy 100%. That guy, the guy who can go, "Here are my foibles." Boom. I trust 100%. Bill Maher and Joe Rogan will never really never talk about their personal life and their personal dark side on stage. Mark will. Mark, it's an open book. Hicks was like that as well.
Yeah, Hicks was like that.
All these guys, it was like they were on stage naked. This is who I am. Don't like it. There's the exit.
Well, I can tell you this, having been in stand-up since I was 18 years old, out of all the people who I've met, all the people who I've known, there are a handful who I've heard nothing but wonderful stories about what kind and wonderful human beings they are. But most people fall somewhere in the middle where, there are going to be some people who've got good stories about them and some people who've got, have had negative experiences. In all my years, I have never heard Bill Maher's name come up when it was not a bad story. I mean, ever. I was in a cab. I was in a cab one time. I was going from Universal City to a meeting in Beverly Hills. And the cab driver goes, "So what do you do?" I go, "I'm a comedian." And he goes, "Oh, I gave a comedian a ride one time. Bill Maher. What an asshole." This is the cab driver. Cab driver. I mean, so it's like, what did you do in the cab? The fact that the cab driver is bad-mouthing you years after the ride. What did you say? What did you do that would leave that kind of a taste in somebody's mouth? It's
funny because there are two people around the same time that came up, Kevin Pollak and Bill Maher. And I always thought if Kevin Pollak ever became famous, he would be a raving asshole. And he went the opposite way.
Yeah.
He was just
got nicer.
He
went Canadian on us.
Yeah. And Bill Maher was the asshole that everybody knew he was going to be because he was such an asshole before he became famous.
I used to do a lot of stuff with Kevin, back in the day when I was, first starting out, and I was producing shows. And I remember producing a big show with before they were huge, was me, Kevin, and Dana Carvey. And I had not seen Kevin I had not seen Kevin before Kevin blew up in movies. He had done, what was it? Avalon was the first movie. He did the Barry Levinson one and A Few Good Men. And then I saw him at a benefit and gives me a hug. How's it go? And it just was a regular guy. Whereas a lot of those kind of guys, when they blow up, when they see you again, they have no idea who you are.
I think Bobcat and Tomcat are like that a lot. Bobcat and Tom Kenny as well,
Bobcat's great. I've met Bobcat. I've done shows with him down here. Here's the thing I've learned about this industry, and it's like something that I've noticed you can look through the history of entertainers. The entertainers that always put on the perfect facade, like I'm always nice, I'm always in front of the camera.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 turn out to be the ones that are behind the camera being Bill Maher's. They're the ones that you never hear anything good about behind. Exactly. Whereas the comedian that goes on stage and says the most vulgar, outlandish things like Dice Clay.
Saget.
Meet the guy. He's one of the sweetest men you could meet in comedy. Jesselnick, all these guys, they on stage, they come across with this very asshole attitude. But when you talk to them off stage, they make eye contact. They listen to you. They make you feel like a human on this earth as well. So
John Oliver is like that. John Oliver is just one of the fucking nicest guys on the planet.
That's great.
And it goes a long way. I can attest to you right now, 90% of the things that have happened to me in my career since I came to LA and worked at the Comedy Store are because I was nice to people just because that's how you're supposed to be. Not because I wanted something from them, not because I knew who they were, just because you a human, fam. You up in here. I know how hard LA is. You a comedian? I know how hard being a comedian is. Let's get some lunch. What, you have a question for me? Of course, I got time for you. It's like literally that little bit of stuff has got me into the Netflix is a joke fest. So it's like, I don't get the whole mindset of being an asshole when you know you're going to need people on your way up and the way down. That's
so cool. I thought Dana Gould had a really poignant tweet about when Rush Limbaugh passed away. The measure of like who he was a man and how honest he was as a person is that when he died, it's like it was not even a pin drop. Nobody cared.
No,
Rush Limbaugh's dead. And you kind of feel like the same with Bill Maher and Joe Rogan. Like when they pass away, it'll be like,
they're like a Robin Williams.
I think, honestly, I think with Joe, because again, I know the guy. I think that I think there's another corner that Joe can turn.
I think he can.
And I think he has the ability I think the ability that's there to make a change in his life, to grow a bit more, because I think he's a pretty smart guy. Bill's always been Bill. He's been pretty much the same guy since I've known him. Watching Rogan, have people on like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and people that I think are despicable, and liars, just bold-faced liars. That's the part that bothers me. When you have Matt Walsh on your fucking show for the second time, really? You didn't get it the first time?
Just because Rogan comes from Rogan doesn't have to worry about these people's rhetoric hurting him. You know what I mean? Like whatever they're against to do doesn't affect him because he looks like them. So for them, they're just kind of like, oh, we respect you, but it's kind of like one of those libertarian things. That's my issue with the libertarian mindset. It's like, I'm in the middle. I have no control. I don't really, you can be right and you can be right. Well, no, someone who's promoting genocide of another people is never right. They're never right. Somebody.
Well, that's the thing I like about the left, though. We gave up communism a long time once the babes stopped showing their cards in the 50s, I'm no longer a communist. There was no, remember, like every movie that you saw about Communist Act, it was always some woman that got them to sign on that piece of paper. I just wanted to get laid.
Oppenheimer.
Nowadays, it's grab these cylinders.
Pussy dried up in the communist business.
Nowadays, it's on Hollywood Boulevard. If you grab these cylinders, you can grab these cylinders. Good night, folks.
Let me switch gears. Truth Social.
Hubba.
Truth Social, Donald Trump's media company.
Widely successful.
That's what it's called? Okay.
As of today, when we're recording this on Wednesday, it is down 70% from its high. 70%.
Shit, I'm fucked.
70%. And his followers they've interviewed a bunch of his followers. I think it was CNBC's where I found this article. And his followers have put their life savings into the stock.
I love it. Good.
Their kids' college funds into the stock, their retirement accounts into the stock. And in all likelihood, they're going to get wiped out. But Trump owns 67% of the company. They issued a bunch more stock and diluted basically the value of the stock that the people who already, were the initial purchasers had. So this being the case, we have known for 8 years. We've told you for 8 years, this man is he's a confidence man. This is Trump University. This is Trump Snakes. This is his casinos. He rips everybody out. Well, bottom line is he's going to walk away. Worst case scenario, when this completely bottoms out, which it will, he'll still get $1 billion, whereas people will have lost their retirements, their college funds, and all of this stuff. So my question being, do you have any sympathy for these people?
None.
I do, because they're marks.
No.
The people I have less sympathy for are the disingenuous ones who know better.
Well,
I feel sorry for. I do have a little bit of
fascism.
Empathy, no empathy. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They're literally siding with the dude who is openly racist, openly sexist, openly sexually assaulting. Like it's not even the fact that they're being marks. You know this guy's a bad person. It's like those people that want to say, well, I was just doing my job, and your job just happened to be burning Jews in an oven. So you really want me to think that you're the innocent one here? No, you know what this man's about. You know he's going to use this money to probably hurt people, to increase his status and to value yours. So yeah, you know what? It's a mark when you don't know the person. If someone from Nigeria calls you and says, send me $1,500 and I'll send you 20 racks. Yeah, you're a mark. I can understand you.
But if you're
the lady and the beekeeper who got killed,
and Fox, if you're only watching those three and you're on right-wing social media, your ability to understand the world in reality is skewed, and so they're pumped in that information. So to that extent, I can have a little bit of empathy. The people who know are who's the guy from North Carolina or South Carolina, all these pastors, all these people that are just the educated people, the Marco Rubios, the McConnells.
Ted Cruz
are the people I have no sympathy for.
Well, let me just say one thing about this is that these people are marks when they're born. Their pastors are stealing from them. They're buying survival kit meals, and they can't wait to lose their money. On a bad idea. They're literally any bad idea that knocks on their door, as long as Jesus is wrapped in it, or as long as somebody is selling them a gun, they're in 100%. They're just marks. And that's why I don't feel sorry for them, because they don't learn. They're constantly banging their finger with a hammer going, gosh, that hurts. And then doing it again. So they don't learn from anything. They don't figure out all these people are just there to suck money out of their back pocket. They just keep doing it over and over and over again. So, it's like feeling sorry for the guy who keeps jumping out of a fucking plane. I love parachuting. That's great. But,
I stopped.
They're willing marks. You know what I mean? It's like, and what you're being a mark for is fascism. You're not even being marked for a dude that we can even question his morality. Like, well, he's a good guy. We know this guy's not a good guy. You're doing it because you agree with how he treats people. You're doing
owning the libs.
He speaks for you. You know what I mean? And it's like, you want to say the things that he says. Instead of saying thug, you would love to just call us niggers. That's, you know what I mean? So for me as a black man looking at them, I'm like, oh, well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's what they said when we were protesting for our lives. Well, if you guys would just comply, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Well, guess what?
Win
a stupid prize, enjoy your shoebox. Enjoy your refrigerator box.
Blacks for Trump should have ended the day Herman Cain died after going to that freaking without a mask. It's like, dude, they're using Herman Cain. He died for that guy. That's it.
God. That's the only time I felt bad for Herman Cain, because I was like, you see what caping for them gets you?
Yep.
Because here's the thing, in my eyes, Herman Cain is a successful Black American story.
Yeah.
Because if you look at his life, he grew up with Black parents.
Ben Carson too.
In the racist South, he went to school. He got his education. He got his business. He married a Black woman. He has a Black family. So when I see him, I see so many Black men that I know in my community, and I wish he had just understood that all that will not make them accept you.
No. That's not. No. That's not what the point is. What the point is, and what happens to these people and the people who are of color who go to the right like that is, I came from nothing. I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. Yeah. So why can't everyone else?
That's what
and
that's it. They have no empathy for anybody else's situation.
Is the through line for the Republican Party is they don't have any empathy.
Yeah, they
empathy there
in the same sentence. But here's the thing: it's like they think that having all those things will make them acceptable to white people. And even if the white people say, "Yeah, look at him," as soon as you mess up, like let's just go back to the beginning. OJ, white people loved OJ all the way up until he was accused, not convicted, accused of murdering these two people. He didn't even get convicted, and they had already turned on him when they put that Time magazine cover, and he was darkened to a point that he looked like
that was Newsweek that darkened him, by the way.
Newsweek. So
it was Newsweek. Yeah,
that's OJ is an example. Kane, Herman Cain, he's an example. Candace Owens, these are people who are examples of no matter how
Please
much.
help me, NAACP. I hate you, NAACP.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, Herman Cain died because I told him, I said, you got to open up a chicken place called Herman Cain Chicken.
Herman Cain.
No. And then he refused to do it. It was a great idea. And then Cain's Chicken came along. He was heartbroken and he killed himself. Okay. I told him.
A chicken heartbreak.
You mentioned, Tom, survivalism a minute ago. But have you guys seen the story that Costco is now selling gold bars?
No.
You hadn't seen this? You can buy gold bars at Costco, and they can't keep them.
They're not filled with chocolate?
No,
They're not. I got a golden ticket.
They do say Kirkland on the side.
Hey,
of them.
Charlie, they're selling golden bars, Charlie.
How much is a gold bar? Like
whatever the price of, I forget how many troy ounces it is, but whatever the price of gold is that day, it fluctuates. But you can buy gold bars and take them and put them in your Costco shopping cart and pay for them, on the way out, check out with them. And they say that it's mostly millennials and Gen Zers who are buying it because they don't trust American currency right now. They don't trust that they're going to get a fair. Think about how bad. No matter how hard it must be for, I'm the last year of the baby boom. I'm the tail end of the baby boom. Tom, you're a boomer. You're older than I am, Carlos Bear. I think a year or two. Okay, I'm 64. So you're a boomer. You're a you're a Gen Xer.
I'm 70. Right? I don't know what.
Yeah, you're a Gen Xer. You're a Gen Xer.
Generation.
Okay.
Old people, young people. I don't know.
Yeah, you're a Gen Xer. Okay, well, the millennials, when you look at what they've had to go through, they went through a once in a lifetime housing crash. In 2008, they went through a once in a century pandemic. There have been like all of these, once in a lifetime catastrophes that have made it impossible for them to pay their student loans, to possibly get a house. I don't blame them for saying, I'll load up on gold, next to my $4 chicken and $1.50 hot dog at Costco.
Yeah. I just feel like you can just move somewhere else. Like, honestly, I'm
$500 Bruce Springsteen tickets.
I'm looking to move out of this country. Like, it's just the way people just act here. It's like, I've been to other countries with capitalism, and it seems like it works everywhere else but here. Like, everywhere in Europe that has capitalism, they got free healthcare.
Yeah. I don't know. They really tied into those things and programs. Actually, Norway funds its youth athletic through sports betting, through online gambling. Norway. Really? It's a Brian Gumble real sports story. Yeah.
Right. If your grandkids want to go to college, they don't got to fill out FAFSA and beg people for money. They can just go enroll. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like this is what baffles me as to why now they're saying like this survivalist mentality that people in America have. Like, it's all going to hell in a hell. Like the way they talk about Oakland, you would think that you come outside in Oakland, it's a Grand Theft Auto scene every 5 minutes. And
they haven't been to Lake Merritt. They haven't been to the near Rock Ridge and all those places.
The hills are nice and quiet. Like I just feel like Americans just really have a very, I want to say, movie sensationalized idea of the world where everything is either so bad or it's so good. And there's no, hey, we're in the middle, guys. We actually got it pretty good. I mean, I know the Israel-Palestine thing or Hamas thing is really crazy, but guess what? You're reading about it on a laptop while drinking Colombian coffee and probably smoking doing mushrooms. So you're okay.
Yeah, it goes down to profit. You have all these news companies that are sensationalizing every minor bad story and making it happen everywhere in the country. And that's why
the Giants aren't that bad.
They recently took a poll, I believe, where people were asked how the economy is in your state and the country. And in your state, it's great, or in your town, it's wonderful. The economy's great, but how is it doing in the rest of the country? Oh, down the toilet. So because that's what they hear on the news all the time. And they're, again, the media is really same people that are putting all that money into Donald Trump's shit and they get had every day because they don't have the wherewithal to go, hey, that doesn't make sense. That, even from a standpoint of like, I'm not even going to go and read anything else. This doesn't make sense. I think people's asshole detectors have been broken for a long, long time. And that's the sad part to me. We can't figure out who's bullshitting us.
No, we can't.
But Chris brought up a great point, though. If you travel, the people that go, oh, socialism, you've never been to Australia, you've never been to England, you've never been to Japan, you've never been to New Zealand. You need to, if you're lucky enough to travel and get outside the United States, that word socialism is not so scary.
It's not. It's literally, I just feel like people don't understand that. In my mind, the perfect government, or not perfect, but the closest we get to it is, it takes some socialism, it takes some capitalism, it takes some communism, and it takes all these isms that we've created, and you put them together and you create this thing where it works all together, where we can still have free enterprise, but help poor people and have a decent place to live. It's just mind blowing how simple it is.
Tax the rich.
To me, good government should be like an umpire between labor and management. That's how it should be.
Yeah,
that should be the umpire. But right now, if you think about how we have it right now, it's like if you had a sports team and every sports team, the officials for that game were on the payroll of the home team, how quickly do you think people would stop giving up on sports? Why do you think people think, politics is rigged? Well, it's because they have been rigging it for years for the rich. That's what they've been doing. Everything's been going this way and nothing's been going the other way.
On the topic of politics, and we'll end with this. It's the last story I read before we started today that just, I keep reading these stories and it just scares me. And that is that you have what they're saying now is a significant number of Gen Zers, millennials and Gen Zers who voted for Biden, or they voted for Biden in the last election, or if they weren't old enough to vote for Biden in the last election, they would be inclined to vote for him now, but they will definitely under no circumstances vote for him now because of Gaza.
Yeah,
and if you're not voting for him, then you're voting for Trump.
Yeah, it's entitlement. That comes under entitlement, where people expect to get everything they want, and that happens with everybody. You have people in Dearborn, Michigan, that won't vote for Biden. You have people, the Jewish people, the Michael Rappaports of the world, like, I got to think about voting for Biden now. You cannot possibly get everything you want, and that's the problem. Is that these Gen Zers think they are entitled to get everything they want.
I wouldn't even say Gen Zers. I would say every human being thinks they're entitled to get what they want, because on the older spectrum, they think
it's relative to the story he brought up. Yeah,
I think what it really boils down is, like you said, everybody has this entitlement to think that they have to get everything out of this election. It's like elections are never about getting everything. It's about getting the best of what you can out of what you need. You know what I mean? Yep. And I think that's why the whole mindset of, you vote locally, think globally. I think that's, people have gotten away from that, because I am more concerned about the school district supervisor. I am more concerned about the dean in my area than I am about the president. But I understand I got to pick one. If I want to have I feel you should be able to have a say regardless. But I also feel like if I really want to be a part or really have an effect, I have to involve myself. And yes, Biden is not perfect. And I think that's the thing that the right never really understands, that we are not over here wearing Biden shirts. We're not out here waving Biden looking like Rambo. We don't love him.
Somebody just said
he's a politician. It's a guy doing a job. I don't pick a guy at the meat market. I get my steak from him and I go on the grill but I don't wear I love Butcher's T-shirt when I go to the market.
To pin that on me on Twitter. He goes, I go, because I called him a cultist because he's a MAGA guy. He goes, you're not a cult, blue no matter who. And I go, that's the opposite. Blue no matter who is pragmatism. That literally means that no matter who the person is,
right,
who has the best chance to beat your evil guy, we will vote for that guy. Right. That's what that means. It doesn't mean we're buying a T-shirt, like you said, Tom, with a guy's face on it. We'll buy anybody that has the numbers to beat evil.
I would love it.
Opposite of being in a cult.
God, wouldn't it be great if the Republican Party actually believed in science, actually believed in women, and actually told the truth, and actually weren't just completely in the pocket of the rich, actually gave a fuck about the middle class? Wouldn't it be great to actually have a choice where it was somebody who was actually conservative, didn't want to throw money at every problem, just wanted to take your time and do things thoughtfully, and versus somebody who was like really gung ho and maybe a little too gung ho. But having a real choice, it sucks having to vote for one one party all the time because I like to have a choice. I would love to have a choice, but I can't choose between the person who's a lunatic, and who's going to take away rights. Like the reason why we're in this whole Roe v. Wade situation is because of all these, I'm not going to vote for Hillary because blah, 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 instead of and all the Bernie bros that I know that I'm no longer friends with because those assholes went and voted for
Trump by default.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
They were angry. I'm angry.
Well, here's the thing. You're talking about the Republicans believing. You talk about the Republicans believing in something. For the last probably year, we've heard Bill Barr, Trump's former attorney general, who whitewashed the Mueller investigation and made it look like it was a nothing burger when there was plenty there. Running around from talk show to talk show to talk show, bad-mouthing Trump. This man should be nowhere near the White House. He does not have the temperament for it. Look, I worked with him. I know what I'm talking about. And that a second Trump term would be a disaster. Well, today he has said that he will support the Republican ticket.
Yeah. Same with Sununu.
Sununu with Stephanopoulos on Sununu. Yeah. That was just insane.
Embarrassing.
Well, here's the thing. As much as I hate where their positions and what they're standing for, I respect the toe the line mentality. Because that, in my opinion, is what messes up the left side. Because I enjoy the fact that the left does critically think about how imaging and how things we say and do affect the world. But it gets to a point where you got to stop infighting at a point and turn to the enemy and say, okay, you know what? We'll deal with this later. Let's get the enemy out of the way.
But I never thought of Mitt Romney. Even, I didn't like George W. Bush and I didn't like Bush Sr. and definitely didn't like Reagan. But I never thought of them as the enemy. I think Trump is the enemy. And because Trump is against democracy, he's against my country. He's actually anti-America as well as being anti-Christ. And I'm an atheist. But I was raised Catholic and I thought everything about Catholicism was great except for the Catholics.
Yeah. But to Chris's point, and regarding voting,
religion, just the religion. Oh, the world will be different.
Yeah. To your point, Chris, about how to vote, and I said this on the Stephanie Miller show, we're not going to get everything you want. If you're a Democrat, you are a worker bee. Your job is to save the hive. That's what you're doing in 2024. You're not going to get this. You're not going to get that. You are a worker bee. You're not special. Show up, vote blue, and then go about your business and hope for the best. That's
this article I read, they're going to do one of three things. They're either going to stay home and not vote at all. They're going to vote for Jill Stein. Who I mean, when's the last election she didn't run in? And or they're going to vote for Kennedy.
And
who's being funded by the Republicans, by the way, to be a spoiler. The Republicans.
Well, and he's right wing. I mean, he's not pro-choice. His stance on abortion is horrible. It's the same thing as it is in most of the moderate red states. So he's pro-Russia. He's
anti-vax.
He's anti-vax. I have friends I have more friends I've lost from the anti-vax thing, and then the people who think that teachers are assigning genders to kids. I mean, the lunacy out there is just is breathtaking.
That's a joke I got booed. A joke I got booed for, by the way. I had to interview Robert Kennedy Jr. twice in the same day. I had him on the radio in the morning. I had him on TV in the afternoon. And he's one of those guests that you ask him a question, and it doesn't matter what the question is. You ask him, he's going to filibuster about what it is he wants to filibuster about.
Right. Yeah.
And he was on some tirade about the Appalachian situation, and it is a bad situation. I don't mean to downplay that, but it was just repetitive, redundant. And so that night on stage, the joke I made was that, don't stop listening to me because of this joke. And I said, I spent most of the day with Robert Kennedy Jr. And by the time I was done, I was looking for Sirhan Jr.
Where's Rosie Greer Jr.?
And they booed me.
Yeah,
they booed me for that joke. Yes, that was in very poor taste. But it's funny. It's
I did an impression of him a while ago, and people People went, he's got a thing. He's got a disease that happened that made that happen.
He does.
I go,
He does.
I'm sorry, but that's what he sounds like. I go
Correct.
by what.
And I said, as soon as he becomes relevant, as soon as he starts stealing enough funds for Trump, from Trump, they'll go directly at that voice. Don't think that Trump will not make fun of his voice.
Hannity's gone from being pro RFK Jr. to being anti already.
There's something wrong with that voice. Have you heard the voice? He's probably got he's dead cancer. His cancer all over his throat. He's going to die. And it's a horrible voice. Very horrible.
Two more things. I wanted to stop earlier, but I'm having too much fun. So two more things I wanted to get to. One is Tim Allen and Roseanne have teamed up to form a new actors union.
Oh boy.
For Roseanne. Yeah. Ooh. Tim Allen and Roseanne, but a new actors union, quote, for actors who haven't woken up yet. That's what they're saying. And it's called for the cause of saving American movies.
Oh God, why don't they just call it the KKK movie agency? Like, come on.
Your leaders are in their 60s and they're going to be gone soon. What kind of new development is that? Why don't you just call it Senior Living Union?
But here's the thing. They can be that union. They could join the union, but that don't mean the studio is going to hire those actors. Because
nobody's going to see their movies.
Like, we're still not putting you in our liberal movies. Like, what are you talking
but I got to tell you, you want to know what movies are the most profitable movies out there? Believe it or not, Christian movies. They cost like nothing. There's nobody in them you've ever heard of before. They're basically Lifetime movies with crosses. Yeah. And they cost $2 million to make, and they gross $80 million or $100 million.
Yeah, that's why Scientology has a movie studio in Hollywood. They have their own
anybody else? I'm on casting network.
You get those too. The casting alerts where it say come audition for Scientology,
and they love you. I'll tell you, I answered one of those, and they got my email now, and I get emails. I had to block. I had to block them because it was like
my agent. Please stop sending me those. I'm not
doing your.
They'll do stuff like they have a Scientology acting class, and it's free as long as you sign up for Scientology.
Yeah, my buddy Jim Meskimen, very nice guy, voice of Colonel Sanders, openly Scientologist. He always does shows at the Learning Center there, and it's weird. He's a very nice human being, the nicest guy on the planet, but he's smack dab in the middle of that.
Hold on.
And if that doesn't tell you how crazy people are about religion, that's all you need to know there.
Yeah.
We know these guys are con artists. And we can trace it back. We know their life.
Joseph Smith, go on. And here's something I said, that the reason we got to Roe versus Wade being overturned is that because of the voluntary complicity of women to believe in religions that make them second tier. God is a man, Allah is a man, Jesus is a man. I'm like, I have 2 daughters. They will never hear that from me. Don't believe in all this man created the world and man is God and man. No, all made up. Fiction.
Adam's rib, all of this nonsense.
Fiction. That's the problem. Is if you buy into that, then you're going to accept something else. Where women are inferior.
You were talking, telling me that you were raised Catholic. I'm a practicing Catholic, but I don't believe it literally.
You haven't got it right yet?
I'm sorry?
You're still practicing? For God's sakes, go pro.
Still practicing.
Go pro.
Yeah. We're talking about practice.
I'm a AAA Catholic.
Practice, Brian.
I'm a AAA Catholic, but I mean, I don't believe that, the earth was created in 7 days. I mean,
you believe God is a man?
It's a storybook.
You don't believe God is a man, do you?
No, to be quite honest with you. No, I don't.
Remove all the pronouns.
And I don't believe God's a woman either.
God is a raccoon.
Let me leave you with this. Last time you were on, Carlos, we were talking about that Rust situation in the armor.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a quick recap. Indie film. Alec Baldwin. It's a Western called Rust. Alec Baldwin is the executive producer, or one of the executive producers. They were setting up a film shot. He had a gun that he says that he thought was not loaded. There's never supposed to be live ammunition on a set. He aimed the gun at the cinematographer to show how he was going to do it for the actual filming. Well, there's a question as to whether he pulled the trigger or whether he cocked it or whether it went off. The bottom line is cinematographer got killed, the director got shot. All right, so there are two separate indictments. One was against the armorer, who was completely inexperienced. Her dad's a well-known armorer in Hollywood. Now, the armorer is the person who's responsible for weapons and guns and things like that on the movie set. And she was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and she was sentenced yesterday, Tuesday, to 18 months in prison. And the reason why she got the time was they say she was careless in that she somehow let a live round get on that set, that she showed no remorse, and because they caught her on. And this is why I never understand. I watch a lot of Dateline. And this is why I never understand is, don't you realize if you're talking on a phone in jail and you're calling somebody that you're being recorded? Don't you know that?
It says it before you get the phone call. It literally says you're being recorded unless this is by law, a lawyer, or protected discussion. Like,
you are being recorded. Show remorse.
and she showed no remorse. Instead, she badmouthed the jury and badmouthed the judge.
No.
So I got two questions, and I'm going to start with you, Carlos, because you have responsibility. You have experience, I should say, working with armors, working with firearms in front of a camera.
Yep.
Number one, do you think that the conviction and the sentence were just? Number two, Alec Baldwin has been indicted, and I think his trial's coming up next month. Do you think that Alec Baldwin bears any responsibility, any criminal responsibility for this?
Number one, yes. I think the sentence was just. It's involuntary manslaughter or whatever. She didn't mean to do it, but bad mouthing maybe increased the amount of time that she's in jail. But 18 months is just, I think, could have been more. Number two, Alec Baldwin, if you're the producer, you've been in Hollywood, you've been on sets, I think you are partially responsible for you don't trust the armorer. Everybody looks at that gun, everybody involved. And especially if you're a producer, you look at that weapon. You don't just trust somebody's opinion. You say to the armorer, I want you to show me that gun. I want you to show me the chamber. I want you to take the clip out, and I want you to fire it first. So yes, I blame Alec Baldwin too. And I think whatever his sentence is, he should get one.
Right. So now working on Reno 911, where you did deal with firearms, that's exactly what you did. So, if you handed a gun and the armorer gave you a gun and said, this is a cold weapon, meaning that it's a blanket, and you never took anybody's word for it.
First of all, he'd go, this is before we fire today, I'm going to show you that there's nothing in the chamber right now. Okay, boom. I'm going to put it together. Now I'm going to put one in the chamber. The weapon is hot. So don't put your finger near the trigger. When you fire it, you're going to fire it up in the air. It is a blank. Even though it's a blank, you'll fire it up in the air. If you point at somebody, point to the side. The camera angle will get the angle. So don't worry about that. You don't have to point directly at somebody. So those two things were always over and over. And a producer would come by and go, yep, I like it. I like how the weapon looks. We're all good. Let's good to go. You need earplugs? Earplugs? Anybody? We got earplugs? No, we're good to go. Let's go. So yeah, there was always a chain of command of checking that weapon. Always. It wasn't just like, here's a gun, shoot it. Like, no, what? If I would have been on that set, I would have been like, oh, whoa. Hold on, what are you doing?
And that's exactly what it sounds like that set was. Here's a gun, shoot it. It's cold. It's a cold gun, just shoot it.
I understand that Alec Baldwin is exhausted, maybe tired. He's a producer and he's acting, but you can't let that happen. Yeah. You just can't.
I think it was a small production too. And I think she's inexperienced. Like, I feel bad for her as much as I feel bad for the person who was killed. That's very tragic.
Of course.
Heart goes out to their family. But this girl, in a way, I feel like probation, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this was not one of those malicious things where she needs to be taught a lesson. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to front. If I'm in jail and I'm pissed off about the situation, I might be like, fuck these people too. No, this jury, I might go off a little bit too. And I get it. So I'm not even going to be too angry at her for that. I feel, unfortunately, that Alec Baldwin is not going to get the responsibility on this he deserves, because he fired it. And it's like you said, he should have been like, hey, can you make sure this is a safe weapon?
Even I know that.
In the story of they were setting up the shot, he was showing them he was going to do it. it just goes to show that there was a lot of negligence on that. And I feel like, he should be the one doing the 18 months and because he's in charge. She works for him. He should have been like, hey, let me make sure this is great. Like you said. And he's been in the industry for how long?
30 years or more, 40 years.
How many action movies have we seen him in?
Yeah, all kinds. And the thing with the armor was, again, because it was low budget, this was her second gig. Her father's very experienced. But the thing I didn't know until trial was they also had her doing props. So rather than hire a prop master as well as an armorer, they had her in two different jobs. And this is only the second armor job she's ever had. So do you think that's a mitigating factor?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Well, it's good to hear from Carlos because I would, before I was like, I really felt bad for Alec Baldwin, but I didn't, that's the thing about being on a jury where you hear somebody who is an expert or, this is how it's supposed to be done. And Alec Baldwin, and then you hear somebody probably going, Alec Baldwin knew that because he was on this production where he handled a gun and was told this, every time he picked up the gun. And that's what you're going to hear on a jury. So no, I'd probably say if I just heard the information for the first time from Carlos, if I was on a jury, that would prejudice me against Alec Baldwin immediately, where I would have to vote guilty because, dude, you've done this before. You've done this. You shouldn't point a gun at anybody.
Why are you pointing the gun? Exactly.
I mean, he was pointing guns on Knott's Landing, for God's sake. Which was his first gig like in the 80s.
Lawyer. He's probably got the more expensive lawyer than she.
Of course he does.
I'm sure he didn't pay for her legal defense. So I'm feeling like, he's probably going to get out of this. And I hate to say it, white men run this country. I just feel like he's going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully
that this woman is.
You're wrong. So I think he should definitely have to do some time for this.
I do too.
I think the only time we pointed guns at people were if they were empty plastic guns, and we were shown that the chamber is empty and the clip is empty. We knew nothing was in there, or it was a rubber gun, and that was probably the rare times where we would point a gun, or it was an air shot that we would point it at somebody. So there's no actual kind of round coming out.
You guys remember the John Eric Hexum story?
Yeah.
He was a model / actor who was on this show called Cover Up. And it was like the 6th episode. It was like a spy thing. And you know how on the film set or TV set, there's a lot of hurry up and wait. And so he was bored. So he had his gun and he was playing, it was a revolver and he's playing Russian roulette with it. And it has blanks in it. And he puts it up to his head and the blank goes off. And he didn't realize that there's paper wadding in a blank. And the paper wadding went into his head and cracked his a blue bone into his brain or something. Yeah. And he was in a coma until his family took him off life support. And the positive part of the story, if there is one, is that that his eyes and heart and lungs went and saved a number of different people. But it's just, I didn't, and I'll be honest with you, at the time, I didn't know there was paper wadding in a blank. I thought a blank was a blank.
Well, but you always see a big flash. That's not some, thing that goes bang out of the gun, little sign. That's actually gunpowder. There is gunpowder. There's just there's no
discharge. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, if you put a blank to your head, holy fuck, you'd have to be a complete idiot.
Any armor, any producer, anybody that sees you doing that would tell you to stop immediately. And usually what we would fire is quarter rounds, which is a quarter of a bullet. So the impact wasn't that loud on the ears. But even that, no, don't point it at somebody. Don't put it up to your head. Even though it's a quarter round blank, there's still some force behind it. There is an explosion that happens. So don't be stupid.
Man.
There should have been a line of command or a chain of command.
Yeah.
There was not in that situation. So
no, we'll see how it plays out. But you're giving it some food for thought because I was with Tom beforehand. I would have thought, come on, Alec Baldwin thought he was told, but you're right. He's had 40 years of experience. He's fired weapons before. And
that's throwing somebody under the
television.
Bus.
Well, they did. They completely threw this girl under the bus.
Yeah,
no question about it.
Well, yeah, because if I was her, I'm testifying against you. Just want you to know that.
Well, I don't care. Whoever put the live ammo into you're guilty because that's your gig.
And they still don't know. They still don't know.
I believe I had heard that they had taken that gun and fired it on the range. And that should never happen. Something that's
Where'd
fired
that-
live on a range should never make it into a set.
No.
They took the prop gun outside in the real world, put real bullets in it. And
This is what I had heard. I can't
Well, that
certify
would make
that's
sense.
100%
But
true.
That makes
but
sense.
That's but
that literally that explains why there was a live round in it, as opposed to this young, inexperienced armorer just decided, oh, I'm gonna see what happens if I put a live round in here.
or here's a box of bullets that are probably fake. Most likely
it's just-
fake. I'm going
it
to
was
use these.
negligence for sure. It's just you take so much caution
Abby
these
normal
days.
bullets.
Yeah, Abby normal. Right.
All right, what do you guys got to plug? Tom, anything?
Oh, just the usual. Go to TomSawyerVoices.com to see a lot of great history on Cobb's Comedy Club, my old stomping ground, and also see there's a direct link on the documentary page to see the Comedy Club documentary with Dana Carvey and Bob Saget and Paula Poundstone and so many other great friends.
I'm in it.
You
I still
and
got to
Will
see
Durst.
it.
Yes.
I still got to see it. Carlos?
That's great. Rock, paper, scissors on Nickelodeon. And doing some play scissors on that. That's currently on Nickelodeon. I think there's old episodes of Reno that you can watch. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter for politics, Instagram for all the fun stuff. And when I'm going to be at cons in August, I'll be in Tennessee. I'll be in Rhode Island, I think in December. So you can follow me there and find out where I'm going to be live at conventions and signing.
I'm sorry, real quick. I want to ask you this because you mentioned Nickelodeon, and because they are employees, if you do not have to answer this, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the Quiet on the Set documentary?
I have not. I would like to see that for sure. I'm definitely interested.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'd like your thoughts after you saw it about what Nickelodeon was like and how they treated kids who worked for them in the 80s and in the 90s.
I'm sure it was really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I will check it out.
Pedophiles on the payroll.
Yeah, because they always do documentaries on things that they treat where people are treated wonderful.
Yeah. I'll check
Chris?
it out.
Well, of course, in the meantime, I'll be here reading Christopher Darden's
Yeah.
because no. Actually, guys, I'm getting ready for the Netflix is a Joke Festival. I got 3 shows in the festival. The 4th and the 9th at Hotel Cafe. And the 7th, I'll be doing the Surrounded Crowd Work show at the Bourbon Room in Hollywood. So if you're ready,
Great room.
yeah, I love the Bourbon Room. So if you're in Hollywood and want to come see the Netflix is a Joke Festival, tickets are on my link tree and my bio on my Instagram, Chris Riggins Comedy. So
I'll follow you today.
Okay, we'll put links to all that stuff too.
you.
All right. All right, Tom Sawyer, Carlos Alazraqui, Chris Riggins. Thanks, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you. And it's always a
Thank you.
great discussion. So thanks for joining us. I got a couple quick things I'm going to plug. I mentioned at the top, my first novel comes out on Tuesday. Internationally, it is being released, and it is called Outraged. So you can pre-order it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart. It's going to be all over the place, but it'll be out on Tuesday. Also, I mentioned earlier, my very first one-man show was called Not a Genuine Black Man, and it became the longest running one-man show in the history of San Francisco theater. And then I stopped it, and I've done 5 subsequent plays, and I realized that this year is the 20th anniversary of the debut of that show. And so it debuted in April of 2004. So Saturday is the 20th anniversary performance of that show, as well as the 1000th performance of that show. And it's my birthday. So we're doing
Awesome.
all 3 of them at the Marsh in San Francisco. I think there are a couple tickets left. It's close to being sold out. If you try to get in and you can't get in, we'll do 2 more performances, the 27th and the 4th of May. And I also want to mention on Sunday, the 28th, we'll be doing a great big book launch for Outraged at Book Passage in Corte Madera, California.
You're such a slacker, Brian.
In Marin County. And Michael Krasny, my pal Michael Krasny, who you may know from his work on NPR, he is going to interview me for that. So I hope that you'll check some of the stuff out. I hope you will support the guests on this podcast and support this podcast by either subscribing if you're watching us on YouTube or by going to whatever platform you're using to listen to us and giving us a 5-star review. And tell your friends. So I'll check you out next week. Till then, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.